Okay, we're going to be multiplying monomials and binomials. Remember, look at the prefixes. Monomials means one. We're multiplying by one term. Binomials means, pi means two. We're going to be multiplying it by two. Let's go back to our distributive property. So if I had 3 times the difference of x minus 2. So remember, we distributed to 3 multiplied by both. So that would give us 3 times x is 3x, and 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Well, if you're multiplying a monomial by a binomial, it would be the same as adding 3x on the outside times the difference of x minus 2. So once again, it becomes 3x minus x. Remember, there's no coefficient in front of the second x, so it's an applied 1. 3 times 1 is 3, and x times x is x squared. Now we have to multiply the 3x times the negative 2. What's 3 times negative 2? Negative 6 times your x, which will give us negative 6x. It is as simple as that when you're dealing with your monomials. Now, just make sure that you be aware of your negative signs. I've always taught you guys to box them so that you don't forget them. That's the only thing you have to worry about with multiplying a monomial by a binomial. Now when we get into going and doing your binomials, it gets a little bit different, and so you can get lost along the way. So we have a format to follow so that you don't get lost. So if I have x minus 2 times x plus 3, we're going to start out, we're going to use the acronym FOIL, okay? The F stands for first. So each one of those sets of parentheses, we're going to multiply the first set. So that becomes x times x, which is x squared. O stands for the outside number. So look at each set of parentheses, and let's go to the outermost. So that would be x times 3, which is 3x. Next letter of FOIL is I. These are, if you look at the parentheses, the two inside terms. So we have negative 2 times x, which is negative 2x, and then last, which is, drew that one wrong, the last numbers of each of them. So that becomes negative 2 times 3, which is negative 6. Now, as you see, I set it up in columns, with the F being in the first column, the O and the I being in the middle column, and the last being in a column by itself. That works if you're dealing with the same variable for your first terms and numbers for your second terms of each set of parentheses. We'll start out setting it up that way. It'll be easier, and then we'll work from there, because now it's all set up to add it. So let's bring our x squared down. 3x minus 2x is x minus 6. Let's go on to another example. Let's look at if we have a beginning term the same and the end term the same. So let's do like a 3x minus 2y times a x plus y. Okay, once again, the format will not change, and your chances of making a mistake go down greatly if you follow the format of FOIL. The F stands for the first terms of each of the set of parentheses. So it becomes 3x times x, which is 3x squared. Now we go to our outside terms. Okay, so we've got 3x times y, which is 3xy, isn't it? Our I stands for the inside. So let's go to the inside two terms. And I've got negative 2y times x. If I multiply it, it becomes negative 2xy. And then our last term is negative 2y times y, which is negative 2y squared. Once again, let's total up our columns. That will give us 3x squared plus xy minus 2y squared. Give you a chance to look at that. If you follow the steps, it's actually very easy. Let's do one more, and this will be our last example of this, and I'm going to give you an example of how we use it in geometry. So let's take, let's do 3a squared minus 2b times 2a minus b squared. Let's look at this one. I'm going to do these in different colors. I'm going to start with our F in black, just to give you a little visual here. So our first term of each of the parentheses is 3a times 2a. Let's start with our coefficients. What is 3 times 2? 6. And a squared times a. Remember, a squared times a, we're thinking of a to the first power. If there's no power listed, it's the implied 1. So that becomes a to the third. Let's go with, we'll use red for the outside terms. Okay, so look at each of the brackets. On the outermost side, I've got 3a and 2b. So there's no coefficient in front of that negative b squared, is there? So it's implied 1. 3 times 1 is 3. A positive times a negative is a negative 3. Now I've got a squared and b squared, don't I? Let's go on the inside. We'll do this in green. So these are the innermost. So I've got negative times a positive, so that's going to give us a negative. 2 times 2 is 4. A times b is ab. Our last are going to be the last of each one. So that is going to be negative 2 times negative 1, which gives us negative 2. B times b squared. Remember, that's b to the first power times b squared will give us b to the third. So our answer for this one, we're going to have 4 different ones. So it's 6a to the third minus 3a squared b squared minus 4ab minus 2b cubed. Since none of our variables are identical, we cannot combine anything, and this is our answer. Let's look how we would use this in geometry. We want to find out the area of this red rectangle, but there's a hole in the middle of it. So let's say that this side is 2x, and this is 3x plus 1. Inside, this is going to be, get our pen a little smaller here. This is going to be, I guess I can see that. Let's make this x plus 1, and this side will be x plus 3. Hope you can see that good enough. So now, in order to find the area of the red part, well, we have to take the whole, let's take the entirety, and then subtract the center part. So what we have is 2x times 3x plus 1. Now this is back to multiply a monomial by a binomial. So I can take that 2x and multiply it by each term in there. Let's do the first terms. 2x times 3x. Multiply the coefficients. 2 times 3 is 6. X times x is x squared. Let's take the second one. 1 times 2x is 2x. So that's the area of the entire part. So now we have to subtract this white hole in the middle of this rectangle. So let's go multiply that out. That is x plus 1 times x plus 3. So once again, we're going to use FOIL on this. Let me slide this up a little bit. So for FOIL, we've got our first terms, x times x equals x squared. We've got our outside terms, x times 3 is 3x. We've got our inside terms, 1 times x is 1x. And our last term, 1 times 3 is 3. When we total these up, we have x squared plus 4x plus 3. So I need to subtract this whole amount from the center. Do you see how I put the parentheses around it and the minus sign? Because I have to subtract the whole thing. So that means we're going to need to change the signs, distribute that negative to every sign within. So it becomes a negative x squared minus 4x minus 3, doesn't it? So what we're going to be subtracting this from is our original up here. So let me make room to erase part of that arrow there. Let's bring it up. Okay, let's just bring this part up that we're subtracting. Fortunately, the equal sign came with it, so let's see if I can erase the equal sign. There we go. So we've got what we have, and now we can just subtract. Remember, we're going to do this in columns where we can see it. So now I've got 6x squared minus x squared. That gives us a 5x squared. I've got a 2x minus a 4x. That's minus 2x. And then I've got a negative 3. So the area for the red rectangle, just the red part, not the hole in the middle, is 5x squared minus 2x minus 3.